Hi guys, my name is Danielle. I'm the youth manager at the Gem Springs Walker Branch Library, and this is the first video in a new series of online book talks. So these book talks will consist of books from the 2020 through 2021 6th through 8th grade Louisiana Young Readers Choice List and the Louisiana Teen Readers Choice List for 9th through 12th grade. The Louisiana Young Readers Choice lists are comprised of books selected by committees of school and public librarians. And each year the librarians come up with a list of their top picks, the best of the best, and they'll send out the list to students, and the students can vote for their favorite book, and then each year we'll have a winner and usually a runner-up. I use these lists because they're created by a bunch of professionals in their field, and they're really all around good books. They encompass a lot of themes, a lot of ideas, a lot of topics, and they're meant for a wide range of students. All of the books on the lyric and literature lists are available on our online digital platforms, either Hoopla, Cloud Library, or RB Digital. So in these videos, I am going to be grouping the books from the 6th through 8th grade list and the 9th through 12th grade list into different topics or themes. I wanted to kick off these videos with my favorite genre of all time, which is fantasy. Okay, the first book that I want to talk to you guys about is probably my favorite book in all of the lists. It is on the 9th through 12th grade Louisiana Teen Readers Choice list, and it is Cruel Prince by Holly Black. Cruel Prince tells a story of teenage human Jude, and when Jude was young, she was taken from the human world and sent to live in the world of fairy. It turns out Jude's older sister is half fairy, and her father comes and takes all three girls from the human world and takes them to fairy and raises them as his own. And as you could imagine, the fairy world is not kind to humans, so Jude and her sisters have to learn to adapt. Cruel Prince has everything that I love in a YA fantasy going for it. It has court politics, sibling rivalry, the race to kind of take the crown, or the willingness to do whatever you have to do to take the crown. It has action, adventure, epic fight scenes, has some romance, it has a secret society of underground spies. It has everything. It's amazing. One of the reasons I love this book so much is because Jude is kind of an anti-hero, and if it was told in any other point of view other than Jude's, she would probably be seen as the antagonist. Some of the things that she has to do in order to survive as a human in the fairy world is selfish and kind of extreme, but it makes for such a good read. It's very fun. If you like fairy, if you like the classic fairy tales, if you like a strong female protagonist that has to do what she has to do, this is definitely the book for you. Cruel Prince is the first book in the Folk of the Air trilogy. All three books are currently published and available on our online digital platforms, Hoopla, Cloud Library, and RB Digital. The next book I want to talk about is also on the Louisiana Teen Readers Choice 9th through 12th grade list, and it is The Bells by Danielle Clayton. The world of The Bells is set in a world called Orleans, which is very similar to our New Orleans, which I thought was cool. And when the bells are ready to be introduced to the world, they all come together and perform some type of magic to show off their strength and what they can do in front of all of Orleans. And then they get separated into these different houses. These different houses have different levels of prestige. Obviously, the most coveted house is the royal household, and they will be working magic and making the royal family beautiful. And then each house has a different level. So all the girls are kind of competing in order to get the highest, most prestigious houses. But once they get to these houses and they start using their powers in order to make the population of Orleans beautiful, they realize that everything is not as it seems, and everything they've been told about their powers is not true, and there's definitely more to the story. And our main character kind of goes on a quest to try to find out the truth, and try to find out what's really happening in Orleans. The Bells is definitely a unique twist on the YA fantasy genre. It's a quick read, it's fun, it's engaging, and luckily for you, there is a second book called The Everlasting Rose, also available on our online digital platforms. And the last book I want to talk about is probably the most timely of the books on the Littrick and Lyric lists. It is on the 9th through 12th grade list. It's a different type of YA fantasy than we've been talking about. It's a more of an apocalyptic novel, and it is Dry by Neal Shusterman. Dry is set in an alternate reality of our own and tells a story of what would happen if California ran out of water. So this event is called the Tap Out, and essentially the California drought has escalated so badly that California has completely run out of water, and the rest of the country refuses to give them any water or divert any water to them. As you can imagine, people start to panic. They go to the grocery store, there's no more water. People start turning on each other, blaming people, and the adults kind of lose their mind. So the story follows several teenagers in their week-long journey in this tap out to try to find water and to try to survive. One of the main characters, Alyssa, and her little brother Garrett go on a quest to try to find their parents because their parents went missing and they are stuck at home with no water and they're trying to figure out what to do. As you can imagine, things get a little crazy. Characters have to do things that they never thought they would have to do. And it's almost just a fight for survival at this point. And the thing I love about this book is that it shows what happens during an apocalyptic level event. Most YA post-apocalyptic novels and dystopian novels show the aftermath, the new society that has come up after the apocalypse, but this shows what happens during it, and it shows the level of panic that people have, and it shows what people are willing to do to survive, and it's kind of crazy, but it's a really interesting story, and it'll kind of make you think, what would people do if something like this were to happen? And it'll also make you think, what would you do in this type of situation? What person you would be and what levels you would go to in order to survive. Dry is a standalone novel, so if you don't want to get too invested in a series just yet, this is definitely a good novel for you. It is available on Hoopla, Cloud Library, or RB Digital as well. So those were 3 of the books on our Lyric and Littrick lists this year. Those were just some fantasy titles that we wanted to show you guys. Stay tuned for more videos of different themes and topics and more titles from the 6th through 8th grade and 9th through 12th grade Littrick and Lyric lists.